Welcome to the last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 podcast, brought to you by Thomasson Productions.
That even if you did something different, you went to work in an office, somebody else went to work in a garage, you might both read the same newspaper comic. You'd both go see some of the same movies. You might have
which
both
would stay in a theater for like 3 months, you know.
Yeah, I worked at Eastland.
I did too
today because of 8 weeks that thing was there.
What was it?
Summer. Annie.
Oh,
The musical, the movie musical Annie. Oh, had to hear that every day.
Hey, this is Scott Townsend. Welcome back to the last of the College High Wildcats 1982. And today I have with me a good friend. Of course, I say this with everybody. I've known him for a long time. We've probably known him for at least 40 years. He's a National Honor Society member. I got all this from the yearbook. National Merit semifinalist, photographer for the yearbook. He's studied theology at Southern Methodist University and journalism at Northwestern University. And so welcome to the show podcast, Brett Thomasson.
Hey, Scott.
What's going on, man?
Not a lot. I'm serving the Methodist Church here in Pawhuska, and you can see part of our sanctuary behind us. And so I've been enjoying the chance to watch some of the podcasts and catch up with some of the folk from the class. And so enjoying the chance to share a little bit with you and converse and have some fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you just hang out in churches, or what's the deal with the background?
Well, this is where I work now. I did start out with that career in journalism, and after about 6 years, a lot of experiences kind of led me to understand I was being called to something else. So I started the theological studies down at Southern Methodist, and it kind of snowballed. The more I studied in that, the more I realized that's what I was being called to do. So completed those studies, and in 1999 was ordained as an elder in the United Methodist Church. I'd grown up United Methodist, so that was pretty much the way that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And been serving churches around Oklahoma. Had a stint as a chaplain on the campus of Oklahoma City University, serving students there for about 5 years. But other than that, just serving Methodist churches here in Oklahoma. And right now, I am just next door to good old Beeville in Pawhuska.
All right. So there's a lot of stuff going on in Pawhuska right now.
There is. We've got a movie filming here, of course. And then this last weekend, we just had Cavalcade, which I am told is the largest amateur rodeo in the world. I don't know how they quantify that, but that's what they say about it. The 75th anniversary of that cavalcade. So that
makes for good marketing.
On. Exactly. I mean, you pick those tags and you hang them on there.
Right.
We had national horse races for Native American horse racers earlier in the summer. Ben Johnson Days, which is another, it's a meeting of the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association. I mean, yes, summer is, there's always stuff happening here. In addition to all the wonderful stuff from that's the fallout from the Pioneer Woman, Reed Drummond, and her store and restaurant and everything else with all the tourist stuff that we get around here. So yeah, it's a fun time to be here in Pawhuska, I can tell you that.
So do you notice a lot of tourists or stuff stopping by the church on Sundays or whatever, just because they're in town?
We do get them some, yeah, we do get some Methodists sometimes. I've got a couple of people who work at the store that the Drummonds own. And so if they meet people, they'll have conversations about anything. Mm-hmm. And sometimes those conversations about church material, faith life, all that sort of thing. And so they'll make sure to invite them. We don't have a lot of overnight hotel stuff. We got a lot of bread and breakfast here, but there's not a big hotel in Pawhuska. So we don't get probably as many as we could if we had one of those. But we have, since I've been here I'm in my 5th year. And we have had more than once folks who were visiting town for something else who saw, oh, there's a Methodist church, because we're only 2 blocks away from all that stuff. And they come right in, on Sunday morning, come into worship, and they've been from all over. They've been Missouri, of course, close by, and then also some from, I think we had some people from New York, and some from Colorado, so it's kind of cool to get just sort of those drop by folks. Neat to meet some other people. Our people like doing it, so it makes it a lot of fun.
That's cool. Have you noticed, of course, as opposed to when we grew up and where we are now, as what do you call yourself? A preacher, a reverend?
I just the
father?
title is no, that's another branch of the outfit. No, I'm usually called Pastor Brett by congregational members, although a lot of the ones in my age range will just call me Brett. But whenever there's kids around, they like to do that, just the same way that we would, address teachers by their last name, that kind of sort of thing. But it's a little less formal. And so Brett works good for me, especially for people who knew me when I was, had nothing like this on my horizon. Or anything like that. So if Ben West, our associate principal, you remember him? He's a member of the congregation here. And so, yeah, I found that out a couple of weeks before I came up here. It's like, so did have to, work a little bit on saying Ben instead of Mr. West, but most of the time it's just calling me Brett is good enough. So
I wonder, preaching to crowds, congregations today, I wonder if it's any different than days when we were growing up. I'm sure the message hasn't changed, but the delivery probably has.
I think, there's some things about how we do that sort of thing, especially since COVID, have to be a little bit more conscious of whether or not your setup works for even just a streaming video on Facebook to that you'll post on YouTube or something in order for people to see it. And, that means that you have to have some things physically set up in there. Your delivery, you do have to be tighter. Sometimes you have to be more disciplined. This could just be a function of having listened to those sermons when I was young and more easily bored. But it seems like I remember pastors when I was younger, kind of being a lot more drawn out, and they did what we call chasing rabbits. Some idea would pop into their heads, and they'd follow that around. Then they'd come back to their point. And you have to guard against that because it's just too easy for people to tap the button and go somewhere else if they're watching you. And also the attention spans being shorter, you just have to be ready to say what you need to say in a short time frame. Can't take 30, 35 minutes unless you're somebody who's really, really good. And I'm not there. You have to kind of go ahead and make your point or points quickly, and then be ready to make them again if you need to at another time. Because when the attention span clock, whatever it's set at, times out, then it times out and you are done, whether you actually stop or don't.
And there was that quote or funny saying, if you want me to speak for 10 minutes, give me 2 weeks to prepare. If you want me to speak all day, I can start right now.
Start right now. Exactly. That was, and ironically, my journalism time, I worked for a newspaper for 6 years. That really helped me with some of that, because the whole thing was you had this amount of newsprint, you had, this long of a column, this small amount of space that you were going to put all of the information you could possibly put into it. You had to learn how to do that. And even though I'm speaking instead of writing, it's a very similar skill set. You got to get rid of everything that's going to go, or you're just in exactly that situation. I got to take the time to prepare. If you don't prepare, it'll show up. I can look back at old videos just even from when I'm here and see somewhere it's like, yeah, that week I must have been really busy. Judging by what I did to my people on that week with that sermon, I must have been really busy.
Let's go back to College High,
Sure.
1982. And I've asked others this, and I'll probably ask the same questions, but it's kind of interesting here. Answers to the same questions. What's the first thing you think of? I mean, when you go back to 1982 College High, what's the first thing what pops in your mind?
Well, what pops into my mind, and like everything that pops into our minds, it's colored by some subsequent experience. But what pops into my mind a lot of times, and looking back on what we were able to do in school, I'm just kind of amazed by the level of teaching quality that we got to experience. We probably, most of us pull the names out of the air that really were the highlights. John Barrett in math, Gene Dean in science, George Love in history, and the high level of work that they both did and expected out of us. Mm-hmm. But so many of the teachers we had, I don't know whether it was just a really happy coincidence of expertise or what, what pops into my mind is like, I was pretty well prepared to go ahead and go into college. And so a lot of the academic work, just, when people say college, high school, that jumps in. Friendships from the time, of course, that jumps in. And that jumped in a lot more in my mind in recent years, because this is about the first time since I left school, since I graduated and went away to college. It's about the first time I've lived back in this part of the state. And so that sort of thing. And I guess to sum it in one, it would be like, I would be remembering something. I'm remembering stuff, and it comes into my mind with a perspective was like, wow, that was a pretty good deal we had. I mean, at the time, it was the most boring town that could ever be imagined, created into existence. And you look back on it now, it's like, really wasn't that bad, was it?
Wasn't that bad.
Yeah. That's a lot. Just friends from the school, memories with the teachers and other people. That's a lot of what seems to come into my head when I use the words, or when I'm talking to other people about where I went to school and stuff like that.
Who were some of your hangout buddies? Who was in your circle?
Let's see. Well, a lot of time, let's see, it was, there was some of the journalism class people, because we had a journalism class, Darla Tresner.
Yeah.
She still teaches there at Bartlesville High School now.
Yeah.
I think she's about the only one who was there, but she was in her very first year at Col-Hi, the year that we graduated.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of those folks, a lot of those folks. John Sayre, of course, was the editor of the paper in summer, working with him, and Darla's younger brother, Brett Jones, was a year behind us. Hung out with him. Outside of that, Tim Brenner, guy who was on swim team. He went to the same church I did. Mm-hmm. Some other guys from there, and just some other people that maybe you had a locker around. I don't know if I ever had a class with Larry Thompson, but I was next door to him in lockers for 6 years, every day for 6 years. So, it's one of those, that name, why is that name remembered? Because we were at the same place at the same time, 6 times a day.
For 6 years.
For 6 years straight. And you were just, let's see, you'd be 3 or 4 down from us. So, that sort of thing. Bill Kinzer would run around with him.
Bill Kinzer.
And Stephen Shiflett, of course, who was taken from us a few years ago from stomach cancer.
Oh, is that what? I didn't know what had happened there.
Oh yeah, it was that. A lot of those guys, and then just seemed like for senior year, it always seems like, for whatever reason, maybe it's we're all just sentimental over the fact that we're about to leave. Our groups that we've all been a part of, we see how they kind of break down when we go to reunions. You see two people talking with each other. You think those people, those women, those guys would never have talked to each other in school. Well, it seems like it starts a little bit in senior year. You had your group running up to that, but then senior year is like your group kind of extends. Every one of you is in the same positions. Like, oh, we're getting out. What the heck happens after that? I don't know.
Right.
Let's all be scared together.
That's interesting. That's an interesting point.
Thank you for listening to the last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 podcast. And we'll be right back after this.
Pop's Daylight Donuts, man, they've got the best tasting donuts, sausage wraps, pastries in Northeast Oklahoma. And also, if you'll tell the staff there, hey, Scott Townsend said to give me a large spicy pig, they'll give you a free large spicy sausage wrap. But you have to tell them Scott Townsend sent you. So tell them, hey, Scott Townsend told me to tell you to give me a large spicy pig. So there's the offer. There's the call to action. So go to Pop's Daylight Donuts, say hi to Mark for me, and go to Pop's Daylight Donuts and get you some. The other sponsor is Cast-A-Fly Outdoor Adventures.
Adventure. That's where it begins. We look to create and document our moments in time while embracing the majestic wonder and beauty of the great outdoors. Our quest is to explore the back roads of the Ozarks, camping, fishing, and just getting lost. Refresh your spirit and join us on our next adventure.
Paul and his crew invite you to subscribe to the Cast-A-Fly Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. What was your biggest fear in high school?
Well, I was getting ready to go to college 800 miles away. I was going up to Chicago for college. And so probably as I got close to the end of high school, it wasn't necessarily fear. It was a lot of, it was anticipation, of course. And then maybe some anxiety and nervousness about the fact that I'm going to Chicago, having grown up in Bartlesville. And
Yeah.
I'm going.
What school was it?
Northwestern University. It's up in Evanston. It's a suburb on the north side of Chicago.
So why did you choose that school?
Journalism. It was a good journalism
Oklahoma
school.
State had a journalism.
It did, but
which is what I got my degree in.
There you go. You got yours in there. And I had a friend on my first newspaper had the same thing, and then I had and then Darla Tresner was out of the OU journalism school, so I had plenty of things there. That was just like it's a premier school in the program, and you mentioned in the intro the National Merit semifinalist. As proof that they don't have nearly as stringent a criteria then as they do now. I was actually a National Merit Scholar, and they gave me a lot of money so that I and my parents could afford there. So that was just like, okay. The thought was, well, you can go to a good program close by, or you can go to the top program in the country. We had 4 or 5 other people from Bartlesville who were there. Yeah, Allison Holmes, who graduated. She graduated a year early, but she was up there already. And then we had some others who were a couple years ahead. Nancy Harris was a year ahead of us, and I think CC Cox was a couple years ahead of us.
CC Cox, yeah.
She was very tall.
The name.
Yeah, she did a lot of journalism stuff. She was really tall.
Okay.
I thought she was really tall, but you were too, as far as I was concerned, because I wasn't all that. But so there were like 4 or 5 up there, and there were some other Okies up there. So it wasn't like there was zero connection, but it was definitely going to be a very new experience. I had no idea what it would be like. In addition to everything going to college and just not really having knowing there wouldn't be a lot of people. So I'd be, striking out completely new, almost completely new. And that was probably the biggest thing that would weigh on my mind when I was thinking about stuff to come in school. That and all of the other, what are you going to do with your life, young man? Kind of things that we would always get asked by people who, didn't realize, no, that scares me. Don't ask that anymore.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Stop asking.
The Landers convenience store next to high school.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
I remember being in Mr. Love's class junior year, and he, for whatever reason, was feeling really mellow that day, and he was letting us have kind of a class party. I think maybe it was like towards the end of a semester or something. We didn't have any pop, and so he let Jimmy Webb and I just kind of climb out the window, run it over Landers, buy a couple of 2 liters, and bring them back. That place was great to have.
Mr. Love, he was his voice was really gravelly, kind of seemed like.
Yeah. Well, he and the Marlboro Man were apparently good friends for a long time. So
yeah. And then he had some kind of it seemed as though he had some kind of, at first it seemed like he might be sympathetic to did you ever catch that? Like when we were talking about World War II, the way he would phrase things kind of made me think that he might be sympathetic with the enemy at that time. I don't know, but he wasn't. But
no,
I never could quite figure.
Well,
it out.
he was. If I remember, this was sticking out because I was having a conversation with with somebody some time ago. He had some books in the bookshelves on there, and I remember looking at the titles of them, and he was pretty solidly anti-communist. And so he would, I remember hearing some of the same sort of thing, and you could get the sense it wasn't really like, okay, he liked the Axis, but he was sitting there thinking, yeah, I don't like them, but why do we have to partner with Stalin and the Soviet Union and that kind of thing? I think he saw no good in that whatsoever, and that definitely colored both his worldview and his teaching. I mean, I don't remember any of the content hardly that he ever taught, but the fact that he stood up there and lectured and tested you over that material, that was great preparation for college, since that's about all any professor really ever did.
Yeah.
And nobody had done that before in our academic career. So,
right.
That was great prep.
Maybe he was just trying to get us to think. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
He was just challenging our thinking.
Yeah, I remember he would sometimes take contrary opinions just to see if he could get people to light off at him and then defend their viewpoints, which again, I mean, what great prep for the academic life on campus. Maybe not today, but certainly at the time. Yeah. Here's your point of view. Defend it.
Right.
Yeah.
What car did you drive in high school?
I had a 68 Chevy Impala. It was the family car that I inherited when I turned 16 because of a variety of accidents, some of which happened with me at the wheel. It had parts on it from at least 2 other 1968 Chevy Impalas that were of different colors. So,
you mean the exterior?
Yeah, exterior. yeah, like blue fenders, green body. It had started out with a black roof, but that had faded. And then there was a coat, I think the driver's side rear fender was a different color because whatever it picked up to put that was just primer. So
lucky you, huh?
Yeah. I drove a monumental machine in school, but it was wheels and it was wheels and it had a radio. So
there you go.
Yeah. Born to be wild.
So you went to journalism.
Yeah.
Graduated with journalism, and so now you're a Pastor Brett.
Right.
What made
happened?
you jump from? Yeah.
Well, like I said, I was working in El Reno, working for the newspaper there. It was a daily newspaper at the time. And I had begun going to the Methodist church there and had started doing a lot of volunteer work with the associate pastor. He was the youth pastor as well. He was an associate, but he had primary charge of the youth. He and his wife were some of the few people in the church who were close to my age range, and they led a Sunday school class with people in that age range too. And so kind of gravitated towards being friends with them. And he asked me if I'd help out as a youth sponsor, and I started doing that. I was in a season, so you might say in the professional life, after about 6 years in a newspaper, you really, I mean, that's about as long as you spend at your first place, unless you've just been, gifted in some fashion by the dream job at a big city daily.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was time to start looking for stuff, but it wasn't really successful. I wasn't having success at that, and began to think, what else might I do? I'll go back to school. Well, if I go back to school, what am I going to study? I don't want to study more journalism. I've been doing it for 6 years. There's nothing a master's degree in journalism is going to give me that I haven't picked up doing this.
Right.
And just began to be led towards maybe studying theology, whether or not I might be feeling called into ministry. Had some discussions with my senior pastor and with that associate pastor, and just decided, I was 28. I thought, well, can't hurt to try. And if it doesn't work out, I can always come back to this field I'm in. And then, like I mentioned earlier, once I started the work, it became clear to me. It's like, oh yeah, I like this. This is good. I graduated from seminary with as they say, with honors. And I graduated from Northwestern with grace. My GPA was not what, my dad got shafted in terms of who paid for the better GPA, which was a confirmation to me that's like, yeah, this is really what I really want to be and should be doing. And it just sort of, as I said, sort of snowballed. The more I studied it, the more I liked it. The more I liked it, the more I studied it. And then it became clear to me that was the path I was being called upon. And it has been, it has been ever since, lots of different times to deviate, lots of different experiences where you sit there and go, really? Are you sure? But it comes back to, yeah, okay.
So how long were you in seminary?
It was I was in class for 3 years, and then you have a year of internship. I did my internship in Norman at a Methodist church, and then part-time on their campus ministry, which in the Methodist tradition is called the Wesley Foundation.
I noticed on your Facebook page you had a couple of quotes that you said were your favorite, were listed as your favorite. I'm going to read one of them, and you tell me why this one stands out.
Okay.
People think that things will unravel with rising sea levels. I happen to think that it's because we won't ever be humming the same song at the same time around the country, or laughing at the same cartoon. Berkeley breathed or breathed, however you say his name.
It's the guy who draws. Well, it stood out to me when he did this. This guy who draws Bloom County,
right?
The strip that had Opus and the Penguin and all those on it, and it just stood out to me that there are definitely physical challenges in the world that we've got to figure out how to deal with in a lot of ways. Environmental and of other kinds, but one of the real fracturings that's just getting us is that we don't have that much that we share anymore. We don't share, like you said, we don't share laughs at the same newspaper. I'm as guilty of this. Who under 75 subscribes to a daily newspaper and reads the comics?
Which I used to do all the time growing up.
Exactly.
I love the comics.
Oh yeah. When I was in Dallas, I went and bought a copy of the Dallas Morning News every day because they had 3 pages of comics. This is okay. I read the news, I read the editorials. That's all cool, but 3 pages of comics. Yeah. But we're not, we don't have one of those things that unifies us. We don't have a musical culture that unifies us. No one musical star or person like that grabs the country the way the name of Michael Jackson did, or the way
Elvis.
The way, yeah, Elvis, or, go back earlier. There are plenty of them. And it's not just a matter of, the young people like a guy who us old people don't know about. There's not really a person who all of the quote young people like. There's just not any one figure. We don't, we have a million channels. We don't have 3 anymore, or 6, or however many you had. And the fracturing of society where we don't share the same culture in some ways. We don't share the same fun. We don't share the same experiences, and we don't reflect on them. And used to be, and this middle-aged man's primary phrase, it used to be that even if you did something different, you went to work in an office, somebody else went to work in a garage, you might both read the same newspaper comic. You'd both go see some of the same movies. You might have
would stay in a theater for like 3 months,
Yeah, I worked at Eastland.
I did too
today because of man, 8 weeks that thing was there.
What was it?
Summer. Annie.
Oh,
the musical, the movie musical Annie. Oh, had to hear that every day that summer. Anyway,
yeah.
No offense to the good people who made that musical, but it's just there's so little that we have in common anymore that it's no wonder that we always fuss and fight over even far less material things like political leaders and which people we favor and things like that, because even the shared assumptions, that was one of the reasons that Charles Schulz was able to make Peanuts such a big deal, was because all kinds of people read it.
Mm-hmm.
I look at my newspaper comics online now, but I wonder how many people younger than us even look at them that way.
This is one of my favorites now. Is Dilbert.
Oh, Dilbert, yeah. That's almost like the last one that seems to have a wide following.
Yeah.
All the others, the ones that we remember, Bloom County. Well, he Breathed publishes some on his Facebook page, but Calvin and Hobbes, that guy didn't.
Right.
I guess Doonesbury's still there, but Peanuts, of course, gone, and Far Side. A lot of those ones that just had wide cultural grip. I don't think anything has wide cultural grip anymore. I think it's too hard to bridge the divides into the different kinds of cultures.
Last, right before our time comes up here, last question is, what would you tell your 18-year-old self, knowing what you know now?
Knowing what I know now.
Say, Brett, listen to me,
be ready. Boy. Be ready for a big career change, son. I watched the other ones and I saw you ask this and I started thinking about this. Man, I don't know. Because part of me, I said, be ready for a big career change, because what I was aiming to do at 18 is nothing like what I'm aiming to do, what I wound up doing. And so I guess the things, some of them would be, philosophical, like, some of that stuff that you're thinking about is not as big a deal as you think it is. And then, some would be really practical, buy Apple stock,
or just buy stock,
Yeah. Well,
buy
some
and
of
hold.
it don't. Don't buy Netscape Navigator, but buy Apple's, or something like practical stuff, like hey, guess what's coming. But really, it's just a kind of probably, and it's the advice that we know we'd never, we know we'd give ourselves, and that we know that 18 would have never taken.
I know.
It's the stuff that says some of the things you think are the biggest problems you've got right now are really not that big a deal. And you will be able to handle a lot of the stuff you're worried about a lot better than you think you will. And of course, it's stuff that we would never have listened to at the time, because
I know
it'd be said to us by some old guy who doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh man, well, Brett, I sure appreciate your time. It's good to catch up with you.
You too, Scott.
We need to get together sometime, and
yes.
I know
Well,
Donnie had mentioned something, and so, that would be good to get together for lunch or whatever.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that'd be great. It'd be great to do that. You're working with the city church people still, doing some of their stuff?
Volunteer, ever so
Volunteer
often.
with them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the AV crew, and
okay. Well, they're over here at 5 p.m. on Sunday sometimes. So
I was going to mention that.
If you ever swing over with them sometime, I guess Jamie's moved over here, but if you ever swing over here with them sometime, buzz me and let me know, because I have been to the service once or twice for representing our ministerial lines, but we'll to do that however. So
cool. All right. Well, Brett, have a good rest of the day, and thanks for your time.
You're welcome. We'll talk to you later, Scott.
So for Brett Thomasson, this is Scott Townsend with the last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 podcast. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.
The last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 podcast is a Dietzo Man production. For more episodes, visit the Last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.